So in yesterday's video, I went on a tangent about my general disdain for the current meta at the end of the video. It wasn't well thought out, so I kind of feel bad about it, and that's why I'm making this video. A more proper conversation about that. So just real quick, I'll be making a Discord for this channel, which I really should have done by now, but Spencer donned that idea on me, the really obvious idea I should have thought of myself, but that's why I have you guys. So thank you, Spencer. Buy the Box 8 is coming tomorrow, and I'll leave a link there and probably through my next few videos as well, because Buy the Box isn't too popular, but I like making them, so deal with it. Anyway, I'm gonna go from top to bottom with the current tier list and explain just why the meta doesn't excite me personally. So, Melodious, this deck is fine. I don't really have an objective reason to say it's bad or it's unfair, too strong, anything like that. And I don't agree with the comparison to Alistair the Invoker and Invoke Cocytus. Like, immune to targeting is the best form of protection in Duel Links. In the TCG, there's cards that are just straight up immune to everything, but in Duel Links, the best form of protection is definitely targeting. And that's to say, Bloom Diva is vulnerable to banishing, effect negation, being bounced, being flipped down, and ho ho ho, being tributed, bitch. Whereas Cocytus said nah to all of that except tributing. Guys, I'm serious. Santa Claus is so good. But anyway, this susceptibility doesn't apply to every deck going against it, and it's fine. But I've had an issue with decks like this, like namely Lunalites. It just felt cheap to Destiny draw into a damn near impenetrable card. Now, obviously, Melodious is different. They don't really stall, and of course, they don't use Destiny draw, and it does take more effort to go into Bloom Diva, but still kind of the same idea, but it's more versatile as well. Seriously, the deck is fine with all things considered. I'm fine with it more than any other deck in this meta. Especially since it is new. I just don't enjoy playing the whole get the boss monster out and then control nature of the deck. It's just not my cup of tea, but again, it's okay. We're scratching the surface here. Destiny heroes are fun, but only for a little bit. I think this deck has more novelty than viability. And what I mean by that is, I don't think the deck would be meta if the skill didn't search Mystical Space Typhoon. And I don't hate all skills that are basically the vitality of the deck. Like Onomatopoeia was obviously stupid, but it can be done right, where either the skill accommodates the deck or the skill is the deck. And as much as I love resonators, like I'll admit Demon's Resonance kind of falls in the latter, but it was more balanced and was a drop in the bucket compared to the ocean of problems Onomatopoeia brought about. And that's kind of how I feel about Clock Tower of Destiny. Like it's not overpowered by any means. It facilitates what the deck is trying to accomplish, but the novelty is what it accomplishes, and that's a turn of immunity and a free Dreadmaster, and like that's cool. And then they have punishing rebuttals with Anki, but it just wears out its welcome pretty quick playing it. It really is a one-trick pony that can kick you with its hind legs. Its lack of versatility just prevents the deck from being consistently enjoyable to play or to go against. But same deal, it's not like it's overpowered or it's been around too long or it's cheap or unfair, nothing like that. So Harpies, yeah, let's rip into this. So for starters, the biggest issue I have with this deck is not even its fault, it's Konami, because they can't balance this deck. They seem like a helpless fish flopping around out of water trying to comprehend how to deal with this deck. When it was as simple as putting Harpy Channeler to 2, a mini box super rare, and a limit to a deck that has been meta for almost a year now. Two caveats that Konami has had no problems obliterating before, just ask Shiranui. So the deck will continue to be meta unless new releases power creep it, even after the Swallow's Nest hit. And the Elegant Egotist hit, I've gotta say, was one of the dumbest and most senseless nerfs I've ever seen Konami do. You limited a card that can be consistently searched from the deck by two different cards that are both good in their own right in Harpy Perfumer and Hysteric Sign. And not to mention Perfumer consumer herself can be brought out directly from the deck by Channeler, and that's why Harpy Channeler should have been the card to be hit. So, like, the deck barely lost any consistency. And the Swallow's Nest hit helps, but as far as protecting your frail normal summon with it, Forbidden Lance can do the same thing and is also easier to use to proc the boss monster's bounce effect. It brought it down a couple of pegs, but it's still on top of the majority of decks. So it begs the question, why even bother? Why even bother hitting Elegant Egotist or Swallow's Nest? Secondly, is the fact that the deck has been meta for so long. Karakuri, Crystron, Noble Knights, a bunch of decks that became dominant and were tier 1 only to be crippled by Konami in like a millisecond. But not Onimat in the emergency ban list, they just decided to hit Rhinoceros, and not Harpies, and also not Harpies. They're untouchable, and there is no consistency in this. No consistency in the longevity of a deck and its power level constituting an appropriate nerf. It's just like when they feel like it, I guess. Like they just weren't about Karakuri, so you know, they just didn't feel like it. You ask me, Harpies have overstayed their welcome. It's stale to play despite its versatility, and it's stale to go against. The overwhelming presence of Harpies actually led to Triamids using my Valentine with Harpies Hunting Ground just as a bluff. And Blackwings did something similar. Nothing about Harpies is overpowered, except one thing. A quick effect bounce that you can proc yourself. Cyber Slash can end games with one effect, especially if the card procking her effect is overpowered, like Treacherous fucking Trap Hole, or even just really strong, like Forbidden Chalice. Now, most decks can come back from that bounce, but without an ideal hand, it can be tough sometimes. You go first, you don't want to set your back row because of Harpy's Hunting Ground. You go second, you could be staring down a board of Cyber Slash and 3 set cards. It's Harpy's ability to be great on either side of the coin that makes them what they are. And they're just annoying. Like, dude, like, am I actually getting beaten up by birds? I don't like playing it, but I feel obligated that I have to, like, if I want to rank up, because ironically, one of the best counters to Harpies is the mirror match. Enter probably my favorite card in Duel Links, Heraldry Patriarch. So overall, it's just old, annoying, and has been babied by Konami, and I'm just over it. Magnet Warriors set, man. Magnet Warriors, it's just like, bruh, it's my turn. I have a love-hate relationship with Thunder Dragons. In yesterday's video, I said they're my favorite of these 5 decks to play, and that's true. But I also just said that Melodious is the deck that I think is the best out of these 5, because to me, those are 2 different things. The Thunder Dragons, like by themselves, are pretty fun and interesting. An archetype that interacts with the Banish Zone the way they do is creative and diverse. You never really know what approach you're gonna take in any given duel, but the direction of stallier hand trap builds and the overwhelming power of Chaos Dragon Legionnaire took it to new heights of success, which as a deck separated from the archetype, I still enjoy it. And it was a satisfying deck in a lot of ways when Onimat was tier 0, because it felt like the only thing that could even remotely counter them. It's simply that the deck has been very strong for a very long time, and it doesn't change much. See, I like the new Cyber Dragon deck so much because it was fresh and interesting. It was an interesting revival of an archetype that fit the same criteria as Thunder Dragons there. And ideally, I would like to see the same thing happen for Thunder Dragons, but just the way it is now and the way it's been for a while, it's just stale. So that's my more thought out explanations with my problems in this meta. Now, they are all personal and subjective. I know a lot of people don't have an issue with the current meta or enjoy playing Melodious or Destiny Hero, what have you. But for me, I'm still searching for the deck that I enjoy playing that can compete with this meta. Block Dragon and Water Exceed are the closest I've come, but they do struggle to keep up. And like, I still love the game and I still play it, and my enjoyment for the game was dwindling at a certain point, but it was rejuvenated by this channel, which was kind of the point in the first place. So if y'all got any deck recommendations, I'm all yours. But I appreciate you watching, and I will see you guys in Buy the Box 8 tomorrow.